Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Into the Ivy, a Chicago Cubs podcast. I'm back. It is January 7th. It is Saturday. We are going to get into a little bit of a preview of what the Cubs opening day lineup could look like. Going to be a little bit of a short episode today. Should be tons of fun. Very exciting. We are now on Apple Podcasts. You can find us at Into the Ivy on Apple Podcast. You can find us by that logo. We are also still on Twitter at into_the_Ivy23. And you can find us on Facebook. You can also find us Into the Ivy on YouTube. We've got a lot going on with the Cubs lineup. Got a few new faces compared to last season, 2022. We've got a lot going for 2023. Why I'm a little optimistic, why I'm a little concerned. Let's jump right in. Welcome, everyone. Today's date is Saturday, January 7th, 2023. And we're going to take a look at a preview of what David Ross's opening day lineup could look like for the Chicago Cubs. And the first thing right out of the gate that we need to point out is the best offensive player from 2022 is now the backstop for the St. Louis Cardinals. It was Wilson Contreras. He was your leader in all of the major categories. Contreras hit 243 batting average with a .349 OPS. That led the Cubs in 2022. Had a .815 OPS. He was the only Cub above 800 in OPS. He hit 22 home runs, which wasn't quite the most on the roster. And that was just 3 behind Patrick Wisdom, who hit 25. And then he had 55 RBIs, which was less than other players on the team, but did tie Nico Horner. So I guess let's just jump right into the lineup because Nico Horner is who I have leading off for the Cubs on opening day this season. So Nico Horner makes the move back to second base from shortstop. In 2022, he hit 281, hit 327 OBP with a .736 OPS. The thing with Nico is we're hoping that he will build upon what he did last year, that it wasn't just a one-hit wonder. He is still growing. He is still getting better. You got to remember, he made his debut in 2019, and he's still maturing. You know, he's young. He's got a lot to go for. He only had 10 home runs last year. He won't hit for power. 55 RBIs. He did tie Contreras, like I just said. But the thing is, in that leadoff spot, he may have less RBIs, but he might have the ability to get on base more. That's what we want out of the leadoff hitter. We want a guy that can get on base more. This is a position that we thought Nick Madrigal was going to take over, especially not just second base, but the leadoff position last season, because he was a guy that had been able to prove that he can get on base. So if Nico can get on base consistently and set up the 2, 3, and 4 hitters who are all going to, I think, do very well playing at Wrigley Field this year, I think Nico Horner has a great shot of sticking in that one slot and leading off. Batting second, I just put his new teammate Dansby Swanson, who's going to be manning shortstop. For the Braves last season, he hit 277, a .329 OBP with a .776 OPS. You take a look at the numbers between him and Nico, and they're kind of similar in terms of batting average and OBP. Dansby has a .40 higher OPS, which I guess is pretty great. That's awesome. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. Dansby Swanson would have tied Patrick Wisdom for leading the Cubs in home runs with 25. He had 25 with the Braves last year, and he almost hit 100 ribbies. He had 96 RBIs for Atlanta. I think that Dansby is going to be one of those guys where playing at Wrigley Field, could be very beneficial on a consistent basis. There is no denying that the wind blowing out on a great day at Wrigley Field on a windy day in Chicago is going to play a factor in a lot of balls, whether they're going to be pop flies or they're going to be dingers. And this is something Dansby Swanson, if he gets a hold of some fly balls, he could push 30 home runs. I'm not saying it's impossible. That's going to be one of my predictions, is that Dansby Swanson's going to hit 30 home runs or hopefully more in 2023 playing with the Cubs. God, that would be really nice to see. I know from listening to other podcasts, listening to reports, scouting reports, what the Braves fans say about Dansby is last year was kind of like an outlier for him in terms of he broke out. So we're going to really see, is his offense going to stay stagnant? Is it going to regress, or is it going to progress? I, for one, am hoping that he doesn't regress, because we've seen a lot of that signing big name free agents. I'm looking at you, Jason Hayward. I'm not saying Dansby Swanson is Jason Hayward, but it would be nice to see us sign this player to a big contract and he comes in and improves and gets better than what he did last year. That would be great to see. Speaking of a guy that came in last year and built upon our expectations, I think Seiya Suzuki will bat third and play right field this season, at least in the season opener. He hit 262 with a .336 OBP and .770 OPS. I talked about this in the last episode where Seiya missed about a little over a month with that finger injury. He hit 14 home runs and had 46 RBIs in 2022. I think that I would put a lock on it that Seiya Suzuki's going to hit 20 plus home runs. I think he'll be between that 25 and 30 home run range this season, and he's easily going to hit in the upper 280s in terms of batting average. I would love if he could finish this season above 300. That would be great. I really, really, really want to see Seiya Suzuki break out this season. I think he's capable of doing it. I think he's been around the league enough that one season just to see what all these teams are going to pitch to him. Hopefully he can take what he did and improve upon that. And can he stay healthy? That is one thing that I would love to see. When it comes to the cleanup hitter, I think the obvious choice is going to be Ian Happ playing in left field. He hit 271 with a .342 OBP and .781 OPS. Ian had 17 home runs and 72 RBIs last season. This is a guy I would like to see him hit 20 plus home runs. I think in a contract year, he's going to break out. He's going to perform very well because he is auditioning for his next contract. Whether that's with the Cubs, I hope so, but it could be with another team. And if you're Ian Happ, you're looking at what some of these other ball clubs are offering guys this winter. And if you play above expectations, you're getting monster deals. So he could potentially get one of those long-term deals. I'm not saying someone's going to give Ian Happ 11 years like Xander Bogaerts or Trey Turner, but he could get maybe a 7 or 8 year deal, kind of similar to what Dansby Swanson just got from us. Batting fifth, this one is a little bit of a stretch. I know how it's going to be perceived. It's Cody Bellinger. I'm not one of those fans that when we signed Bellinger thought that he was just going to be horrible. I don't think Cody Bellinger is going to be bad. I have bought into the idea that he's going to bounce back. I'm not saying he is going to be the National League MVP that he was in 2019. That's most likely not going to happen. Is Cody Bellinger going to hit 210 and have a sub 700 OPS? No, he's not. No. I could see Cody hitting above 250 in terms of batting average. If he can turn out anything between 260, kind of similar to Suzuki, and 270, kind of similar to Happ. If he can fall anywhere in there, that's great for the Cubs. That's a win. You sign the guy to a 1-year deal. And if this is someone later in July, August that Jed wants to turn around and flip, sure, why not? But my hope with this roster is that this is a team that can compete for a wild card spot. I'm not saying that they're going to make the wild card. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I would like for them to be in the discussion all the way until the end of the season. If we can be in the discussion for a wild card spot and play spoiler like we did to the New York Mets last year, that's a good season for me. That's great. Something to build upon for 2024. I want to have fun baseball in Chicago. I want to have fun baseball on the north side. Batting sixth, I'm plugging in the kid. I'm putting Matt Mervis batting sixth, playing first base. His stats in Iowa, he hit 297, .383 OBP, and almost a 1,000 OPS. This is a guy, he's going to be hit or miss the first couple weeks of the season. It's very possible he has a Suzuki breakout where the league takes a while to figure him out, and he's going to be the rookie sensation that everyone in baseball is talking about. That's possible. He hit 15 home runs in I believe 30 some games playing with Iowa, which is great. 39 RBIs in AAA. Matt Mervis is going to be one of those guys that is going to be up, he's going to be down, he's going to be up, he's going to be down, because teams are going to figure him out. And when they start to figure him out, he's going to have to adjust like Suzuki did when he came to the U.S. and started playing Major League Baseball. And it's just going to be interesting to see how he responds to that. Batting seventh, I have it third base, Christopher Morel. I put Christopher Morel here based on one big factor. He gets on base more than Patrick Wisdom. So we'll go over this when we get to the bench options, but Christopher Morel hit 235 last year. He had a .308 OBP and a .741 OPS. All of those stats are significantly better than Patrick Wisdom's performance last season. Granted, Patrick Wisdom can hit you for power, so maybe he can take some time at the DH spot. But I still think that what the Cubs are going to be doing in 2023, Christopher Morel is not only more athletic at the hot corner at third base, but he's also going to get on base more than Wisdom will. And I don't think that this lineup is going to produce a whole bunch of hitting for power. As much as we would like to see that, I think that this team is built to play small ball, and Christopher Morel fits that. Batting eighth, I did put Eric Hosmer at designated hitter, again, because if you take a look at the stats, he hit and he got on base more frequently than Patrick Wisdom, which is the other guy that we would put at these positions of third base and designated hitter. Matt Mervis, sure, you could put him at DH and put Hosmer at first. You can interchange these guys all season, but for opening day, this is where I put Hosmer. He hit 268, had a .334 OBP and a .716 OPS. Again, I know that we don't love the idea of Eric Hosmer. I know there was a lot of criticism when the Cubs signed Hosmer, but you take a look at what the Padres are paying him, $35 million plus a season to play for us, and we're paying him the league minimum, not even $800,000. That's a steal for Jed Hoyer. This is a guy that's going to get you at bats. He's going to get on base. Maybe not as much as he did when the Royals were in that championship window, but he's going to give you quality at bats, and he has the potential to get RBIs in the eighth spot, which if Hosmer gets on base, that's all you can ask of the guy. And then batting ninth, I've got the catcher, Yan Gomes. This isn't a dig on Yan Gomes, but it's going to be nothing like Wilson Contreras has turned out for you the last few seasons. Yan Gomes is going to give you the defensive-minded backstop that your young pitching staff is going to need to succeed this season and take those next steps as to whether we can get some aces in this rotation. If Justin Steele can turn into an ace, I'll credit Yan Gomes in helping that this year. But Gomes did hit 235 with a 2.60 OBP and a .625 OPS. So that's what my starting lineup would be for the Cubs. Just a quick recap going through everything. We've got Nico at second, Dansby at short, Seiya Suzuki in right field. We've got Ian Happ in left. We've got Cody Bellinger in up the middle in center, Matt Mervis at first, Christopher Morel at third, Hosmer at DH, and then Yan Gomes at catcher. So we'll just briefly go through the bench options real quick that will be at David Ross's disposal. Obviously, you've got Patrick Wisdom. These are the numbers right here. So we talked about Morel and Hosmer. Morel was above .230 in batting average. Hosmer was above .260 in average. Patrick Wisdom only hit .207. OBP, Morel and Hosmer were both above .300 in OBP. Patrick Wisdom was .298. Like even Morel, his OPS .741. Patrick Wisdom came in at .725 in OPS. He barely edged out Eric Hosmer, who had a .716 OPS. It's tough because Patrick Wisdom may be the odd man out at first and third base because Morel is more athletic, because Hosmer can get on base possibly more frequently. Patrick Wisdom will get the at-bats at designated hitter mainly because he can hit for power. That's going to be valued. And the fact that Hosmer is a lefty and Wisdom's a righty, you can interchange those guys based on pitching matchups for the day. So Patrick Wisdom will still be a big part of this team. He just won't be, I'm just saying he won't be the opening day start. He won't be an opening day starter. He'll be a bench player that day. Nick Madrigal is another guy that's going to be on the bench. He is not going to be a starter on this team this season. He will be giving guys days off when Nico needs a day off. If Dansby needs a day off, they can put Nico or Morel at short and then slot in Madrigal at second. He's going to be like a Tommy La Stella, like Joe Madden used him, where he can come in, play second base, and get you a hit late in the ball game. Because he did have a .305 OBP last season. Like, he can get on base, he can hit the ball. He almost hit 250 last year, which is pretty average. Granted, he spent a lot of time hurt, so those numbers might be skewed. But still, Nick Madrigal, if he can stay healthy, he's not a bad player, and he's a very quality utility guy that you can bring off the bench and get you a hit in like an 8th or 9th inning if it's a one-run ball game and you need to get guys across, you need to get guys to home, whatever it may be, he can put the ball in play. Nelson Velasquez will be a guy that'll get until we see if possibly Brennan Davis comes up this year, which I still think he will. If Alexander Canario comes up this year, which he could based on his injury, I know that that's up in the air. It might be later in the season, but Nelson Velasquez will be a part of the bench on opening day. He'll be able to give guys Happ, Bellinger, Suzuki. He'll be able to provide them with days off. And then obviously the backup catcher, Tucker Barnhart. He hit 221 last year. He had 1 home run, 287 OBP, .554 OPS. He spent also some time on the injured list, I believe, as well. I didn't follow the Tigers all too closely. But again, this was going to be a short episode. I just wanted to briefly go over what I think that the Cubs opening day lineup will look like. We can do an episode later about the pitching staff, the pitching rotation. If you all would like to hear that, I would be more than happy to do that. I love putting out Cubs content. It's my passion. I love this team. I love this franchise. I love this organization. I love baseball. I really do. And to be able to cover these guys as they're getting ready to go into what I believe is going to be another competitive window, I think we're going to see flashes of it this season. And as I hinted at earlier, this team is not going to hit for power. We will not live and die by the home run like the last core did. You figure guys like Schwarber, Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, those guys lived by the home run. If those guys were hitting bombs, the Cubs were winning ball games. But if they were all cold and they couldn't get anything out of the yard, we were losing a lot of 1-2 run ball games, which were crucial down the line. So you take a look at some of these stats for hitting for power. Wilson Contreras had the highest power rate on the team, and he's gone. They didn't do much to replace that. Can Seiya Suzuki break out? Yes. Can Cody Bellinger get back to what he was? Yes. Can Dansby Swanson provide that little bit of spark playing at a new ballpark? Yes. Can Eric Hosmer? I don't know. I don't think he's going to hit for power, just like most of this lineup won't. But you take a look at the numbers of getting on base and what Jed Hoyer is trying to do, and this lineup gets on base. So when it all comes down to it at the end of the day, I do think that in those close 1-2 run ball games, this lineup will be able to work at bats. This lineup will be able to move runners across. I also think this lineup will be able to manage stealing bases better than they did last season also. And like I said, the end of the day, that only helps you get more runs. So a bold prediction that I have for this team that I kind of talked about earlier, but I believe that this team can go about 83-79. That is going to be my prediction for this team as of right now, January 7th. I think that I'm sorry. That's the wrong number. Not that's the wrong number. I'm sorry about that. For those of you watching on YouTube, Facebook, or on Twitter, that is the correct number, 83-79. I think this team can finish the season in second place, and I think that they'll have a winning record. I really do. I am buying into it. I'm back on the wagon. Not that I ever left, but I believe that the Cubs will have a winning season this year, and that is enough for me to get excited about. So let me know what you guys think, whether you think the Cubs will be a winning team, whether the lineup I put out flat out stinks, if you would rather see guys like Wisdom, Madrigal, Velasquez, or Barnhart in there instead of other guys I've plugged in, whether you disagree or agree with where I've put guys. Do you think Nico Horner's the leadoff man? Do you think Seiya, Suzuki, Dansby, and Ian are, well, not in that order, but it's Nico, Dansby, Seiya, and Ian batting 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe someone else. Did I put Cody Bellinger too high? Please let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. It is absolutely amazing to interact with you all, especially on Twitter. If there's content that you would love to see, please let me know as well, because I'd love to cover it, because this is all for you guys. It's my passion, and being able to share that with other Cubs fans is my favorite thing in the world. So until next time, like us, subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter. Share us with your friends. Share us with other Cubs fans. If you want to make fun of a Cubs fan that maybe doesn't know what they're talking about, go ahead and roast me. Share me with your friends. Let's just go. Let's go, Cubs, baby. Until next time, we'll see you then.